InShalla and Ashe. Running like a snail today. I guess I'm just frequenting the frequency, but as always, InShalla and Ashe, blessings to you. It is I, Tonya D, holistic Sha'medium and subtle energy surgeon. Thanks for joining me and welcome to the 7th of October, 2021. And more importantly, welcome to the Daily Snippet. So the energy of today is one of holding space or giving space to our inside voice. Our inside voice, it might be a little scratchy today with our communication channel actually in retrograde, but it's really a day to switch up our reply, if you will, to our inner responder. And, you know, is it doing the same thing? And the replier inside of us needs to kind of upcycle to shift those gears and break up the pieces in that puzzle to take on a new form, map out a new story, if you will. So if you want a great giggle or at least some relationship humor, my novel, Changing Faces, is a very quick little read all about relationships. Mine in particular. The voices have all been changing to protect my subjects, or myself at the very least. But yes, relationships. It's really time to upcycle the patterns and the narrative to the relationships that we want to attract on the outside of our village. But it really starts on the inside of us. And once we actually acknowledge a pattern, whatever that is, we literally have the ability to access a new paradigm and the ability to actualize it or manifest it in our day-to-day reality. So the elemental energy of today, and yes, Didymus is having his own little relationship party with the cats, but the elemental energy today, we have a young earth rat day or a woo-z kind of day. Still, it's pretty inward, very inward day. We got a lot of yin energy, just our day master, that earth yang, earth. So this is like, it's like a mountain. So it feels kind of like a barren mountain. So there's no nature. So the earth might feel a little scratchy. It's still a little damp, but scratchy. And our day master has little support on the month there with the fire. But the rooster is going to take energy away from our day. And so is our year stem. But we do have earth in the year branch as well. So this kind of feels kind of like an oasis with just a little bit of a bubbling spring. It might not even be bubbling actually, but the metal or the mineral can kind of feed our day branch as the month takes the energy from the day. So today is really a great day to pay tribute, really, to our ancestors, go to nature, plant a flower, if you will, even start the fall cleanup, definitely get in the action of change, light a green candle. Vitality might feel as if you don't have any energy today. Nature or wood is actually energy and vitality in our body and all the things that can't be seen, but also can be felt. So our mind is kind of opening up to a mountaintop perspective. It might, for me, it might, you know, it's otherworldly, like looking through the eyes of God, really, like what can't be seen but can be felt. Do you push things to the limit? You know, today's really not a day to take anything to the limit, including the speed limit, right? Speeding. So it's a balancing force. And you know how sometimes you think things, sometimes you think things to the point that not only it's distracting to you, but it's actually, it's disturbing your energy field. So you might have this disrupting force today in your thoughts where they literally take over to the point of making you sick. Like our thoughts can do that just like our emotions can. And if that happens, kind of, you have to feel into your body where the thought is creating the sickness in your beingness. So is it in your stomach or your solar plexus? Are you having a headache, a slight one? That could be your third eye, or it could actually also be your spiritual connection center where you've got a force of adversity or a discourse there, a shadow, whatever you want to call it, just blocking out the thoughts, or what you see is blocking the channel to your spirit. It's that kind of a duality. So So totally be the force within you, navigate your star to get to the other side of those forces of adversity. And today, because it's the channel of our thoughts, we often go down the rabbit hole because we aren't aware of what somebody else is going through. So we kind of shift the narrative kind of in a way. We're too busy to take the time or the space to be really a heartfelt listener or just turn on our spidey senses. You know, oftentimes I sit on my hands so I can literally tune in unless I'm playing with my cards, you know, my decks. So again, we're kind of at this teeter-totter between our action and the inaction with our thoughts in a narrative. So just maintaining a balanced thought channel is really the key to access the mountaintop, this higher perspective, this higher mountaintop view. So take notes, if you will. It's kind of two sides of the coin. It's really oftentimes two sides of the coin. But there's no need to go driving off the cliff. You know, our outer story is our inner narrative. So if you see life as a jungle, you're going to create or manifest that jungle. That's where you're going to be living. But sometimes jungles are nice. You know, it's all perspective. Again. So if you see life through the eyes of peace, joy, and happiness, right? The higher elevated juju, then life becomes that elevated juju story. So in your outer relationship corridor, you know, it's a great innovation to be fair, to be kind. So how you see your relationships is the magic mirror of seeing yourself, that etheric mirror. I think I've skimmed over it a few snippets ago, but I muse about the etheric mirror. It's like our own stargate. It's the mirror on one side and our shadows to the gateway to the other side. But how you see your relationships, Libra season, is how we see all of our relationships outside of us. So it's that mirrored image. So if you see relationships as juicy, where you love all the village people, you will see all of your relationships as also being juicy too. So our mind truly needs mental clarity on a variety of things, usually, right? And I talked about our mind, our thought channel on Walk the Talk with Tavia. That should be out pretty quickly here. But we process actually more negative thoughts in a day than positive ones. So it really is a magical day to shift that thought patterning and upcycle it. Taking a mountaintop view, an alternative perspective, even a new thought route or a pathway, if you will. That's why affirmations are so great. It's if we keep affirming our thought channel, our habits, our patterns can literally shift. And our thoughts come from the data that we've subscribed to, the data that we hold about ourselves in our corridor, our own beingness. So today is about taking a higher mountaintop view, a perspective. Maybe go outside your peripheral, your hand. Sorry, my hand hurts today. The peripheral view, the outer perspective or view. So we kind of get these views initiated in our youth, our childhood, watching our home container, our village, our parents, siblings, close family members or not so close family members. You know, you hear the stories. But we become systematically in a pattern or a program in our relationship from watching the narrative at the kitchen table or the trauma and event from our childhood. So if you could shift gears today, literally from a mountaintop view of the narrative to how you relate to yourself on the inside and kind of explore it on the outside of you, just creating an otherworldly perspective with new eyes outside of yourself, asking your heart channel, is this a fault line or an unseen line? What kind of line is this? And really look at both sides of the coin, two sides or the entire view from the mountaintop, and explore different channels or different ideas. My own channel is actually exploring different ideas of creativity, different ideas of love. The word I just started putting into my virtue channel, which is actually curious that I didn't have it in there in the first place, but I started adding it to my virtue channel. So my virtues, peace, joy, happiness, integrity, love. But go ahead and pat yourself on the back today as you explore those perspectives of your relationships through the mountaintop or through actually the eyes of God, and just opening up those channels to receive otherworldly abundance, kind of like a supply chain from the other world, literally, if you're willing to like open up and see things from a totally different perspective. You know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can never make it drink, right? You just can't make it drink. So with that, let your heart be the reins and allow your mind to follow. So it's just a magical day to have heartfelt conversations in your relationship corridor and find the balance, the neutral ground. Some villages are dispersing right now, and some are actually coming together. So go quantum, if you will, the Earth Star, the heart channel, and all of the energetic centers and all of the fields. And bring in the emotional healing and the balancing. Ground your energies, protecting yourself from negative energy, and really allow, just let your inner light, your beacon, just shine and open to an inner vision. So with our solar plexus online, it's like yellow's like the sun, or the magical sunflower who follows the sun. I actually saw an entire field of sunflowers yesterday, like acres. It was super cool. But you could also add lemon to your water, or even pine. Pine is like nature energy, wood energy. So our emotional channel might feel as if it needs kind of a boost in our boundary system. The energetic kind, the color of orange, might feel a little bit permeated, if you will, or fluffy, I guess. So our solar plexus, you know, it's our center of courage, our self-esteem, mental clarity, self-confidence, clear channel of thinking. It's the seed sound of Ram. You can chant that throughout the day, especially to boost your courage if you feel so called. But for today, can you guess the animal that I picked for today? You guessed it. I'm calling in the rat. Reminds me of Charlotte's Web, Templeton. Templeton being, he's that greedy, gluttonous, funky little rat in the story, kind of lazy. But he only goes beyond the day-to-days for eating, only if food is available for him. He's quite curious. But the rat, you know, it's saying take time to scavenge something out of nothing, take the knowledge you have gathered and literally move on. So it's when it crosses our path, it's symbolic of being asked to kind of assert ourselves in different areas that we've not explored. So in other words, the rat meaning insists that it's time to really take up those new hobbies that you've wanted to try, and also challenge yourself by learning something new or taking the uncertain first steps towards your dreams, that authenticity. So it's also letting us know that it's time for new beginnings and also new changes, which of course we're right on that threshold. But it also warns us to evaluate the clutter around us. It's time to spring clean, sell, or give away the physical things that are just filling up space around us. And in doing this, you know, I've been doing this almost like I spent the whole day yesterday cleaning out cupboards and throwing things away or releasing them. But when we do this, it's symbolic of beginning to clear out the old emotional issues and even our cluttered thinking. So then we can purge our old baggage, those feelings that no longer serve us, and also allowing ourselves to feel as we purge. So this cleansing, or this act of cleansing, actually makes space for new things to come in. So the rat itself, as a totem animal, you know, if you have this, you're easygoing, you're happy. It's a very social animal. They're also honest and frank, and they get along with everyone. So if you have the spirit animal totem, you're highly cooperative with others in joint endeavors, but you also wear your heart on your sleeve. But they also maintain self-control. So if you have the rat totem, you have a gift for foresight, similar to the falcon, and you just know how to use it successfully for your own benefit. But you're also cunning and shrewd in business, and you're unafraid to defend yourselves in any situation. So you love a great challenge, and you know, you like the conquering of the obstacle, actually. And you're wise. You're like this wise advisor to the people that you lead, and you teach others to appreciate all of the things around you, which is often, sometimes an attitude of gratitude is all it really takes. So if you dream of a rat, it can be symbolic of a variety of different things. So it's kind of an idea to research further on the aspect. If you see a rat in your vision, it signifies the need for kind of immersing yourself into social activities in your everyday waking life. So it's also could be a warning that we've become just a little bit too reclusive. You have hidden from others for way too long. I guess that's part of the experience the last few years. However, if you dream of a white rat, that's symbolic of strength and adaptability, abundance. So your vision is allowing you to know that things are progressing towards fruition and that your goals are not far from actually materializing. So that's an awesome thing to say, the rat. I used to have guinea pigs as friends. Friends, what am I saying? Pets. So yeah, the rat totem. So now the cards. I pulled a few cards today, so this might get a little lengthy. That's why I was having issues with my cards uploading. It's always a situation, right? So the first card I pulled is the death card. What can I say about the death card? It's part of life. It's natural. It's timely endings. It's releasing. It's liberation. We're in the season of Libra. But in the fairy deck, there's cards that are called challengers. This is one of the challenging cards. So what the challengers do is they bring us face to face with our fears, our denials, our inner traumas, inner insecurities, delusions, confusions, anything, even misbehaving, if you will. But the fairies are kind of metaphorically, or they're speaking, they stick out a foot in front of us to see if we're paying attention to where we're going on our path. They really test our alertness, our awareness, our insight, knowledge, wisdom, and also, how dedicated we are to our own personal growth. And honestly, without them, we might actually just become lazy, very lazy. So these tests and challenges are not like, the tests that we've had in school or any other kind of test where we kind of just discover what we had already learned. That's kind of like stuff we already know sometimes. But they're also designed to test us in the process of passing over the test, like jumping over the hurdle. And we actually learn things that move us up to a higher level of beingness. But they also don't offer us challenges unless they feel like anything, that we have the potential of passing it. It's like, even God universe doesn't give us anything more than we can actually handle. So in other words, these are not just tests, but they're more of an initiation. Some are minor and some are major. But what often people don't realize is when you're blaming the other world or things outside of you, forces outside of us, even the fairies, if you will, for our own errors, it's that these fairies and these other worldly beings, our ancestors, the angelic beings and all of that juiciness, they really hope that we're going to pass all of our tests, preferably on the first go around, but sometimes we don't get the memo, right? So otherwise they have to keep like popping them in again and again, adding a little dash. So those, who wants that job? But, somebody has to be the memo. So that's what these little challenger fairies do. They'd prefer to be out dancing with the other fairies, relaxing in the moon night, fluttering in their stardust, but they also wish us good luck and look forward to congratulating us on the other side when we're succeeding and we've hurdled over those challenges. But the death card, it's always seen as scary. It kind of freaks people out. But in other cards as well, whether it's my fairy deck or not, it doesn't actually signify actual death. It's just this indication of significant change that's going to pop. But one, that often involves letting go of the old life in order to move forward into the new beginning, the new frontier. But what we really fear about death is actually, the unknown, like the what's next of it all. So we often experience greater pain as a result of holding on to an aspect of life that we've actually outgrown. So we tend to hold on anyway because we don't know what's next. So we kind of feel safe. And we often, we want the guarantees. Instead, we get to open new doors into that unknown darkened space. But we want to go through these doors when we do, and closing the door behind us, no more looking in the rear view mirror. And that's when we discover an entirely new world, kind of like the new perspective that you want to look through today, where we can grow and develop into more of what we have a potential of actually being in our beingness. So something has really reached a natural ending with this card. And there's also this substantial, irrevocable change that's happening. So this change might be inner or outer, or maybe possibly both. So it's also timely, it's natural. Just know you might have some resistance to it, to getting into the flow. We're in the season of autumn where the leaves are falling. We're in the spring, the spring is like the birthing. The trees are green again. They have the new leaves. So we're making room for the new in our lives by the letting go of the old, and just allow it to go, and loving streams, gently streams, and just be willing. So we're in a transition. It's the season of liberation. It's letting go. It's releasing. It's the autumn or the fall season. So that's kind of the story of the death card, if you will, the releasing and the letting go. And then this little guy, the next card, it's entitled Himself. So this is like life force, magic, shamanic power, even like natural law. It feels earthy in a strange way, but yet otherworldly in a different way. But so with that said, this particular guy, he's the guardian above the hunter and the hunted. He's kind of those two positionings. And he doesn't find conflict in being that, because he understands the balance of nature and the loving bond between all of life itself. Himself is the breath that moves. So it's like the atoms that dance. It's the magic of purity. It's being nice, living and loving. And also, I pulled the journeyman a few times, the master maker. That one I've pulled a few times as well. But they have this magic of the doing, of the creation of the things, where the bright mother, I don't think I pulled her actually, but she's got the magic of manifesting and nurturing. But himself, this particular card, and he's actually pretty cute upside down as he is, but he's got the magic of procreation, of dancing the spark of life into being. He feels kind of fiery to me. His presence brings magic and life out into the world, where it's shaped and it's given form by the Earth Mother. So he dances as the bright mother gives birth. So it's powering us out into the world. So he's like the great father at the other end of our lives. He's also the one who dances the great dance of life and death. He's doing the dance, and he's doing it as himself, who, like when the piper plays, and that lonely call, and the waves kind of sweeping on the shorelines at the end of our Earth timeline. So he dances to open that gate between those worlds, so that the dead, whatever the energy is, what I would say, can pass beyond. But he's also the one who's willing to sacrifice himself when that time is necessary for the sake of protecting those around him. And in between, the different extremes. So he's this wild yang energy, fire, is channeled through our humanness, our beingness, to kind of benefit both our tribe, our village, our family. So his family is all of us, human and animal, so middle world, lower world. And the shamanic aspect really draws upon this power, draws it in. So, it's the energy of the people that are natural healers. They can channel, and there's this balance between his power and also the power of the bright mothers. So one has a nurturing energy, one has like the fire energy. So even, as our heart beats within us, we learn to kind of meditate the life force through the joyful beingness and the action of the joy. So expressing this power through healing and love and trust, that's when we become more like himself, this little character. So when the energy of himself is being blocked, we feel left, drained, kind of nerved. There might also be depression, physical or emotional, energy might be locked or blocked into obsessions, or you might swing from being blocked to out of control, twisted, the life force, strength, and even the authority. It might be kind of misused authority, could come across as like arrogant, aggressive, even violence towards yourself or even others. But I pulled this card reversed. So it's like, it's having like being careful and prayerful at the same time, and just taking in consideration the needs that we need to give to how the energy can actually be rechanneled into its natural creative and also protective mode. But at its worst, this energy, it's like fierce, it's potent, but it becomes a force. It could be a force of oppression, war, domination in a way. And even worse, further, if that's when brutality or kind of twisted kind of sexuality is turned twisted on the other person. So this energy within us should be actually protecting us. So this particular aspect of the fairy deck, oracles, these are the she powers. It's Sidhe, S-I-D-H-E, but it's pronounced she. So it has great potential for good, can also have great potential for destruction. So it's this volcanic releasing that might occur. So the she, if you don't know what they are, they're the people of the hills, the lords and the ladies of the realms of the fairies. They're actually the old ones. Even when they're seen as young, and all of these fairies have a dance, they have a song, they have a music, they have magic, right? But the she do this, they do it through meditation. So they have these powerful energetics that come through, kind of like the singers, which I've talked about before, and they can bring them into manifestation throughout the world. And of course, they do it for the pure joy of it, for the fun. So they're great. They're these alchemical kind of little spiritual art beings, and the dance itself. But they're the ones who create and nurture and build our world, and also all the creatures that inhabit our world. Yet they're also, they're available to us individually as guardians and teachers, and also like our own galactic comforter. I talk about the clouds being a comforter, my trees being a wall of comforting. But they seem, they enjoy creating and frequenting miracles as well. These little she's, and there's a variety of them actually. They've also been called gods or goddesses, but fairies do not think of themselves like that. They're like this elder race, the forerunners, the ancient ones, the watchers, once in earlier times. And they're actually, they were as undeveloped as we actually are now. And honestly, later, in the future, we're going to be similar to them, just more wise and have humor, hopefully. But part of the contact with the other dimensions and realms, whether it's the fairies, the cantomblays, the wetamies, and I'm thinking like angelic beings, whatever that is, they really want to teach us to be more like them, to give us like role models to reach us out into the future. So in the fairy realm, the concept of lords and ladies is different from what it is for us. It's really not a matter of authority. So imagine, if you will, telling an individual fairy what to do. That is not going to happen. That'd be like trying to herd cats or butterflies or wasps, for that matter. So it's not really a matter of having privileges that other fairies don't have. Instead, these other worldly beings, these lords and ladies, are the most respected within that realm for what they do. So they set examples through their work and the way they live. They don't give orders. Just knowing how important it is to respect the free will of others. So instead, they might make a suggestion or rarely requests, but there is no force. So therefore, we are never punished for being disobedient or to give instructions, even though we might punish ourselves actually for not cooperating with them. But we're missing out on the wonders that we've gained when we're actually more in cooperation with them. So it's even said that this card in his own has its own magic power that acts through all of life. And the she themselves are profoundly wise. Their actions are for the highest good for the all. Um, However, we have those powers within our beingness from the spark of life, the embryo. So these abilities are something we gradually earn by using them wisely. And this magic's, it seems very powerful in our lives, like like a little nursery rhyme. There's like a little girl in the nursery rhyme with curly hair. Can't remember her name, but when they're good, they're very, very, very good. And when they are bad, they are horrid. So with these energies, it's really important to just remember that everything has a flip side of powerful creativity and also destruction, volcanic destruction. So these energies channeled by the singers, they can only be used for the good, the creativity of the good, the song. Otherwise, these energies, they become blocked, but never misused. So they're at a standstill. But also, on the other hand, the powers for good by the she can be employed by us, either for good or for evil, such as misused by us, or like we misuse the energy of the she's. Always, it rebounds, is what I'm trying to say, in one way or another. So that's just another way of kind of defining karma. So when we exercise these powers, we can use them appropriately and even compassionately, or we can misuse them. So what happens oftentimes is the patterns of misuse usually fall in a few categories, usually 3. We have blocking energy, which in the divination, I have forces of adversity, the block, the shadows, twisting, negativity. But this card being reversed, it's telling us to consider the difficulties and what we might be able to do about them. Because the she, they're powerful and they are wise. And you don't want to assume that they're kind of formal or stuffy or even pompous. I'm thinking there's a word, but I can't come to it right now. Oh gosh, it's a terrible word. That's probably why it's not coming in. But just looking at the picture, just consider the company they keep. I've even encountered fairies whose sense of humor didn't really sparkle around them. So the fairies, they're guides and guardians. And they kind of guide, whoops, wrong way. Bingo. Okay. And they kind of guide us to devote time and energy to guiding us as we develop our own innate talents and gifts, and also our own personal natural magic. So they assist us to become more than we actually already are, exploring our own innate potentials and transcending what's been self-imposed, our limitations and our fears. And often in some cases, they insist us, to climb out of the holes that we've made for ourselves by misusing or misunderstanding our talents and our gifts and our potentials. And they believe, honestly, that a sense of humor is like the highest part of being fulfilled and actually being magic is finding humor, right? So what I've also noticed is that the fairies have this tendency to want to kind of deflate whatever or whoever they see is like overflated, overly juicy, if you will. And they don't think much about the notions that we have about like dignity. So true dignity for them comes from being kind and showing respect, and being considerate of others and also for ourselves. So it's not the slightest bit stuffy. It's more admiring by the fairies and those otherworldly beings. And you'll find a lot of them have a great deal of humor. But this next card is actually a fairy guide. That's why I bring up fairy guides and guardians. But what the guides do is they assist us to discover the joy. And really, that's kind of what they all do. The Cantombli are totally about the poetry of life and finding the joy in life, and looking at things with different eyes and living more in harmony with nature and also with each other, and also having a relationship with them. But every fairy in his or her own way is assisting the world, ours and theirs, to really move towards this harmony, a higher octave of harmony, where we are, each on our own way to gravitate towards that. So this here is the card of balance. It's avoiding extremes. I found it curious. We're in the season of Libra. We have some liberation, and these cards are about letting go, finding balance, avoiding extremes, achieving the impossible, being impossible. But the funny thing, this card is called Undressing of the Salad. And it's hard to see, but that's seriously what it is. So this undressing of the salad requires balance. So it's like the separation of elements that must kind of blend into a tasty salad. So this undressing part requires cleverness and also skill, especially if you put dressing on a salad, right? So we have this little character. His name is Adritio. He's the dude that's blue sitting there. And Sally, she's on top, by the way. But he's balancing all these magical balls. He's the fairy of doing those impossible things. But he's also the fairy of being impossible and of avoiding extremes. So it's like everything sounds impossible. Well, of course it is. But both of these little characters, Sally's the one little crouched above the top. You can see her better, but there's a couple more in there as well. But she's focused on balancing all of the things. And there's a little gnome. I don't know if you can see him, but he's in the center. He's finding this kind of amusing, and he's looking at multiple directions at once, seeing the impossibility of keeping things that are in constant motion, nature, and balancing them at all of the time. So it's like this juggling act of life. And we all fall out of balance, and we all occasionally drop the ball. And sometimes we drop the ball, or even a bird can fly by and snatch the ball, or whatever it is, and we have to create another one. So sometimes in life, it seems as if it's impossible, as in undressing a salad. So there's times when we have to turn bad luck, perspective, into the good, and that isn't always easy, especially if somebody else seems determined to turn good luck into bad luck. So everything is kind of integrating and disintegrating at the same time. So we're kind of topsy-turvy still. Confusion, but we still try to create order and put things in balance. We're in the season of this. So the entire universe is kind of hurling through time at this rate that's otherworldly. It's astonishing. It's very difficult to keep balance at a rapid moving object or that pace, especially, if it's appearing unpredictability from time to time. And sooner or later, these two we're dropping the ball. So we have this little sulky looking fellow on the left. He's waiting to kind of snatch a ball or two. He's kind of sneaky, if you will, so that he can play as well. But the main character in the card, the little blue dude, he's smart enough to realize that all of these balls are going to wear out over time and space, and new ones have to be brought into the play. So he's already ready to deal with this. The balance changes constantly, but it's still balanced. So things are in motion, and the outcome is impossible to predict. So it's like having a cool head to deal with all of this. And he's ready to just jump in whatever direction that's appropriate. So it's kind of saying to exercise, judgment in a cool, well-mannered way, and staying ready for the unpredictable sudden changes, Uranus energy. So a fortune might actually appear. The fortune could appear good or bad, but they're actually in flux. They're moving, right? And they can be rechanneled. They can also be developed. Just stay calm. I always say take a breath, take a pause. We can come out a winner here if we do the breath and the pause. But it's going to take some effort. So use power and be delicate, and also be discreet, or use discretion. So with all of that, I'm not sure how long I've been. Oh boy, I've almost made an hour. So with all of that, let's say let go. It's the season of let go. It's the Libra season of shifting and balancing and releasing and liberating. And just know that things are not always what they appear, And there is magic for a win-win solution. We just have to stay in that frequency and open your heart to ideas that are new, attract a new philosophy, maybe a new image, be affirming positives, releasing old thoughts or old patterns. An affirmation would be something like, I affirm an outlook that is otherworldly in my relationships to myself. I mean, I fed my fairies last night in a few ways or one. So to bring in the energy of the new moon, it's really a great day to liberate. So with all of that, InShalla and Ashe, and thanks for hopping on. I know I was a little late today, but make it magical.